Elijah Muhammad was arrested on the exact same date, 60 years before the master teacher, on May 8th, he said, did God have feet? No, God created, he created the universe. It doesn't need feet. Then he was like, okay, well, who was walking in the garden? What was he standing on when he created the earth? Wu-Sabat, Wu-Sabat, whatever name that you embrace as yours. This culture, when you begin to raise in vibrations, then the six ether forces will come at you a little stronger. So we can say, yes, your DNA, we have the ability to program it or reprogram it, but we're really deprogramming the infectious DNA that's been placed upon us. Many of us are literally have a fear of letting go of the very thing that's hurting us, right? Because the foundation of Wu-Sabat hasn't totally settled in our mentality. Many of us, some of us it has, and that's a great thing. And those of us that it has settled in, it's our job to live the culture in an upright way so that everyone who looks upon us, they know who we are. A lot of questions I get kind of stemmed around, well, how did I first come into the doctrine or come across, brothers that were teaching the doctrine prior to me coming into it. So the actual fact of that is when I was a little younger, younger man, and I used to see the brothers on the train, incense and talking about the temple at the time. And I would engage, offhandedly, small conversations. So one day I was coming home from work and there's a brother out with a table and he just asked me, he's like, what are you doing? And I said, nothing right now. He said, you got a minute? I said, sure. And he said, ask me 3 questions and I'll ask you 3 questions. And if I can answer your questions and you can't answer my questions, you have to take a book. So I was like, okay. I asked my questions thinking I was a little intelligent at the time, thinking I had him, and he answered my questions with ease.
Sorry, Sabat, where was this at? You didn't say, where were you?
True. Okay, so the year, this was October 1988, and I was coming home from work. So I'm from New York originally.
Right.
New York, second generation stateside. I'm actually have ties to Barbados. But I'm coming home from work, and this is in the Bronx by Yankee Stadium, 161st Street. And, he had a table out there just off of Park Avenue, and he asked me, if he could ask me questions, and if I couldn't answer them, I had to take a book. So unfortunately, he answered my questions, and I couldn't answer his. And he's like, he was like, well, now you have to take a book. I said,
do you remember the questions by any chance?
Well, my questions was more based, among what I thought was religious questions, who is Jesus' father? Something along those lines. And then his question was, did God have feet? Was one of his questions.
Okay.
Right. So I'm like, no, God created, he created the universe. It doesn't need feet. Then he was like, okay, well, who was walking in the garden? He was walking, did he have feet? Right? And then he said, well, what was he standing on when he created the earth? That was just one of the questions. I can't even remember the other ones, but that was one. And it kind of stunned me at the ease with which he was bringing these points that a person normally may not think about. So anyway, I failed the test, but it wasn't a pass or fail. It was more of a conversation. So he said, well, now you have to take a book. And I said to him, well, I don't have any money. He said, yeah, but you're not listening. He said, you have to take a book. I didn't say you have to buy a book. I said, oh. So I picked a book, and the name of the book was The Fast of Ramadan. We were going through the degree of Islam at the time. So The Fast of Ramadan was the book. I took it. I thanked him. I went home. I read it. I came back and said, oh, this book is excellent. When does Ramadan begin? He's like, it began yesterday when you took the book. And literally, it was the first day of Ramadan when I took the book. So I said, show me how to do it. And I fasted with him. And I've never put the books down since then. You know what I mean? So that was in 1988 in October. And then I took my Shahada in March of 1989. So it took about 4 or 5 months of going to class in Brooklyn, studying, asking my questions, I was ready to take my Shahada. We're going through the degree of Islam. So it just so
I mean,
happened.
that's really, sorry to interject, but it's
You're good.
important that you said, you went to school, to classes for like, 5 or 6 months before,
Right.
you took your Shahada. And then I'm reflecting that on today when new people come into the doctrine, even,
Yes.
well, they come into Wu-Sabat, and we're saying to them, like, take your time, get to go to classes, get to, like, know the family, and then you can make an informed decision. But a
Exactly.
lot of people just want to come in and they're like, how can I, they don't want to take that time out to
Right.
go to classes, etc. So I just thought it was interesting because when people hear my story, it was the same. I got a book, I read the book, I started to go to classes,
Hmm.
and then worked my way into the family. So I just wanted to see how, reflecting on the approach we took to get into Wu-Sabat, and like people just coming in and it's like they want to fast track everything,
Right.
without taking the time to really, go to classes. And
Right.
and also I want to commend you because you do some excellent classes. We get in your classes with Caffrey, of course, as well.
Absolutely.
Both you brothers are doing an excellent job, and yeah, we just look forward to the classes every time you all upload a new one. But
But
yeah,
Tom,
go ahead and
Tom,
tack there for.
first and foremost, I do want to say thank you for joining our classes, and actually you all, our family across the pond, y'all are doing a great job as well with the OSM channel. So you actually put our classes on that, and then more people can see it. So that's how
Tour.
you spread this divine doctrine, by sharing it. So
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
definitely want to thank you for the acknowledgement. All right.
Tour.
So again, it happened where, you want to learn about your culture before you claim it as your culture. So it is
Mm,
important that those who may view this particular conversation that we're having, or anything like that, that they do attend their local bookstores if they're able to, support the bookstores, and if they can't, join the online forums like such as the one that you have, the one that we have, and then
tour.
you can allow yourself to develop spiritually and intellectually enough, like you said, to make an informed decision, because this is, after all, a DNA doctrine. So
Mm,
some of us, like my sons, they were born into the doctrine. So even during them being younger, this was a normal state of thinking, a normal way of reading, and things like that. But for those who may come into the doctrine later in life or have not been born into it, it serves a purpose to study. Um,
Please explain that for the listeners when you say it's a DNA doctrine.
Absolutely. So as we are taught, this doctrine may not be for everybody. If your DNA, by way of your family's lineage, does not go back as far as the Neteru or Parnataru or even Murzaku, the Riskians, then you may not truly understand the essence of it. You may like the
Mm,
talk of it. You may like the sound of it. You may like the reason of it, right? But you have to actually see and experience what we have come to know as DNA explosions, which
mm,
means the soul that resides, that inner being in us. As you're reading the doctrine, it's like you're speaking with the master teacher, Baba Yanun, and the person is Dr. Malachi Z. Kabina York, right? So it's a conversation that he's having with your soul by way of this information. So the DNA, it explodes, means it explodes with awareness and
mm,
confirmations and agreement with what you're reading because you're studying. So when that happens, these DNA explosions, and have an explosion means something opens up. What opens up is the higher areas of the brain so that you can receive further information. But you have to be patient with yourself for that to happen. So when we say DNA doctrine, you are actually related to the somewhere in your lineage, someone in your family was there the last 24,000 years ago when this same teachers was on the planet. Therefore, it resonates with you as being
tour.
factual. So that's one of the paths, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
beyond the DNA explosions, because you could have an explosion at a certain particular point or degree with the master teacher, but you have to also be spiritually strong enough to walk through the different degrees. You have to walk with the master teacher, and the changes that you perceive, they're not changes. They're just a unfolding of further affirmation. but you have to have a strong spirit to be able to withstand those changes, the winds of change per se. So the spiritually strong amongst us will walk with the master teacher. The spiritually weak amongst us will go as far as they can. And it doesn't mean that they're weak. It just means the DNA doesn't go back to all of the different schools. And wherever your DNA stops, that's where you can rest comfortably. You know what I mean? Just don't blame others if you're not able to go as far as, say, the next person. So this is
Right.
a DNA doctrine. It has to be in you. So a lot of people say things like, I'm in the doctrine. And that's a true statement, because if you're reading the scrolls, you're practicing the culture, you're doing the spiritual rituals, et cetera, you're in the doctrine. The difference is when you come on the other side of that and you can honestly ask yourself and give the answer in the affirmative, is the doctrine in you? So if you can answer that, then you know this is for you. And you can be proud and that you have found your true self by way of natural
Sure.
nature.
Yeah, that's important because, we express to people all the time that it's like you take the first step,
Right.
and if you stay on the path, then, the Natharu, your ancestors, they will take 10 steps towards you. And
Absolutely.
people don't realize that it's like you say, it's a journey, and you walk with the master. Now, DNA is programmable, right?
Right.
So once you have that connection, that's not it. It's not the end of it. You haven't arrived. It's like, okay, you've now been activated, but you
Right.
still have to do the work. You still
That's
have to walk and learn and like keep on exploring, because you don't know your full potential. It's
right.
only by studying and reading and learning more and more things that
Right.
you continue to like reprogram your DNA to the point where you have to stay up to date. So I
You
thought
have
that was important to mention, because some people might be like, well, if it's a DNA doctrine, then it's not for me. But you don't know that, because your DNA can be activated, and then you can actually
right.
also reprogram your DNA.
That's right. That's right. In one of the scrolls, the Sacred Wisdom of the Grand Hierophant Tahuti, right in the beginning, right, it says you are a cosmosan, and if you're not, you have to make yourself into one. That's where the DNA comes in. So we can say yes, your DNA, we have the ability to program it or reprogram it, but we're really deprogramming the infectious DNA that's been placed upon us for the last 6,000 years. We have to come up out of that six ether moon cycle thinking. And a lot of times the inner being is there waiting for you to activate. And
Right.
when you become activate, now you have to cultivate it. Now you have to spiritually develop to where you can know what you're talking about. It's not a thing of mimic. It's not a mimicking thing. It's not even I can memorize it. Yeah, you do, but when you live it, it becomes truer. So you have to allow
Absolutely.
yourself that opportunity to say, "Am I living this? And is it for me?" And
Yeah, like you're saying,
yes,
when you've come from the sixth ether programming, like how the monotheistic religions, you get dip in water and like you get a baptism, or
right,
take your shahada in those monotheistic religions, and it's like, okay, I'm home. That's it. I've done it now.
right,
But I it's like you say, you've got to cultivate it
exactly,
once you're
exactly,
activated. So that's again important, because it's not just okay, I'm here now and that's it,
right,
because
right,
yeah, that's the kind of the conception in the monotheistic religion. It's like you say you're born again, but then you just carry on living life as you lived before, and you don't really notice the drastic, or the changes in you
exactly.
growing spiritually. So again, that's another valid point that you've touched on.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, for me, once I came to realize that this was my divine doctrine, right? Not mine in the sense that I created it, but mine in the sense that I claim it. I claim it as mine. I made it personal. So, like when we're talking about spiritual development, to put it simply, once you arrive at the threshold of this awareness, you have to do the work. We say cultivate work. Work is another way of saying you are a warrior of right knowledge, WORK. And if you're doing that, you're actually working. And then you'll see the change in yourself, and you'll recognize that new you, as Bob said, the new being. You recognize
Right.
that, right? That new you has been there all along, but it's been just suppressed with a lot of, again, six ether mentality, religious
Mm.
mentality. Not that it's wrong, because there's certain points in religion that will make a person a good person, but the actual facts will carry them across that bridge of
Mm.
salvation, which is our job for our relatives who may have already transitioned. They know the truth
Right.
now, and they're looking at us because we're living the truth. So if you're
Mm.
actually walking in that, they cling closer to you and help you on this side.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the beauty
Yeah.
of it. We don't. Our doctrine doesn't teach separation between the physical and the spiritual. It is a marriage of that. So when our
Mm.
relatives transition, they're still literally right here with us. And if we make a link while they're physically here, when they go to the other side, it's easier to communicate. In our
Mm.
culture, we don't say, oh, once one of your relatives have passed on, you forget them and they, are relegated to, oh, they don't live anymore. It's not that, because we know there's a
Yeah.
spiritual life after that. That's
Mm.
the beauty of it.
Yeah, another important point you've just touched on, which is the working aspect of it, and like you say, the living it, like it becomes you. Because people will be like, I can't do this because I've got to go to work. I can't
Right,
do this. I can't, and when you look at that, that's like still being caught up in the six ether, six mindset. Because
exactly.
if you're allowing that to take precedent over you and your
Mhm.
culture, then it doesn't make sense, because it's like you give more time to six ether and the six mind programming than your own.
Right,
So I guess in Wu-Sabat, we know that we're not saying like, you got to drop everything immediately, but you've got to have a plan. You've got to have
right.
I guess some type of exit plan to be able to turn it the other way around,
That's
where
right.
you're not giving so much to the Mukasu and their system, and then just fitting your culture in on a weekend or whatever. It's got to be the
Exactly.
other way around. So you've got to use your nine mind to figure it out and work out, to make that transition. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And if Wu-Sabat, Wunuwapu, whatever name that you embrace as yours, this culture, when you begin to raise in vibrations, then the six ether forces will come at you a little stronger, because what they
Mm.
want to do is cause distractions and place them in the way so that you'll be distracted for the things here and not learn the things that will get you there. So that's
Right.
it's all a plot that they have. But once you see the plot and see the plan, you have to put your plan in motion, like you said, to extricate yourself from being so caught up in their world and just living in your world. Be in the world and
Mm.
out of it, because this isn't the last journey for us.
Right. You can't serve two masters, right?
You
As
cannot.
they yeah, they say in their
Mhm,
doctrines. All
mhm.
right. So then you went classes out and you were around for about 5, 6 months. Then
Right.
you got,
Then
yeah, just
I took my
continue.
Shahada, right?
Right.
I was fortunate enough to see the master teacher, teach. And there were times that he would come in the room in Brooklyn, or he'd be in another room, you answer the questions, and you could hear his voice and just the power of that. I said, oh, I got to meet him. I have to meet him, right?
Mm.
So the master, of course, moved from Brooklyn. He went upstate to a location, and it was called Jazir Abba, and he had the 19 classes. And that's when
Mm.
I first laid eyes on him, and saw him teach live, like at extended moments. And then after that, there was the move for us to go down south to Georgia. And
Right.
that's when I really got closer and closer, with the
Mm.
master teacher, in terms where, he called me over. A short story, he had called me over and he just said, "How you doing?" And I was like, I was like, I'm fine. And he reached his hand out to shake my hand. And I saw it, but the emotional side of me, or the inner being, I just hugged him. And then he just hugged me back and he laughed. He said, "Let me show you." And he literally showed me one of the handshakes that I had no idea of. He said, "This is how we shake hands." And from that point on, I made it a point where, whenever you see the master teacher, you would acknowledge him, to the point
Tour.
where um, in 1988, just another story, a personal one that's not too personal, but I will share it. It was
Right.
1988, and I had asked him to name our twins. my wife and I had 4 sets of twins. The first set didn't survive gestation. The second set did. And then I said, well, can we have a name? This is in March of 1998. And he gave me the names. So anybody that has the Nubic calendar for 1988, which came out in December of 1997, so it was already out. We bought them at the
Yeah.
New Year's Ball, right?
Yeah, I
So,
have it.
okay, good. Now, he named those first sets that survived Husun El and Hasun El, right? I emailed him, he emailed me back, gave me the names. I told my son's mother, she said, bet that's the names we're going to have. And
Mm,
if you get to that calendar, and they were born on August 16th. So if you got the calendar, go to August 16th and you'll see
mm-hmm.
the meanings of their names on that day. But he gave us the names 5 months ahead. The book was already
Wow.
out. Exactly.
Right.
So that's what I would say was a finality of him being who he is. And
Mm,
then when I saw him after they were born 2 weeks, we took him to the land and he was teaching class, very patient. I had my hand up. He saw me, looked at the children. After class, he came over and he just picked them up one by one, kissed them on the heart, said, these are my grandsons. Right. So right after that, the administrator of Brooklyn at the time was Samara. She's of the Noble. Immediately after that, she came up to us and said, now go walk the path, go do the Mugaraj. And don't let nobody touch him till you finish. And it was just a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing.
yeah. Sounds
Why,
amazing.
I wasn't blessed enough to actually live on the land, but he did ask me, when are you coming home? Literally. So that meant I had the invite. I had his blessings to come. But of
Mm,
course, things transpired, the legal raid on the land, things like that. But from that point on, it was a connection that we had spiritually and physically. That respect was there, for me, for him. So it was
right.
beautiful. Mhm.
Okay. Excellent. I've just had a message just come up on the screen, which
Yes.
it's never happened before, but it's kind of saying that the meeting's going to cut off. I've never had that before, so
Hmm.
just in case it does, I'm
Right.
just
We'll
gonna
go
have
to
to
them. Yeah.
take care of, yeah, yeah.
We'll go to them. You know what? That's funny that you said that. It's just the last couple of classes we had, we just been having issues with communication, like the physical
Yeah,
would go out, things like that. So sometimes if the energy is too powerful, they can't have that. But we'll
yeah, yeah. I noticed that happens
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah. We'll keep going. But
Yeah,
another
very.
thing that I would like to share with everyone, you as well, but anyone, is just
Hmm.
that the effects that right knowledge is literally having on the planet. 30 years ago, 35 years ago, when the master teacher was giving us books like The Man from Planet Risk,
Yeah,
Extraterrestrials in Creation, UFOs in Our Midst, everybody thought he was crazy or he was insane. But now you look at what's going on now, extraterrestrials are actually making themselves known, right? So
right.
when that the effect that it's having, if you were to pick up a scroll now from one of the older ones, and you see it's happening right now. So how
It's
right does it
amazing.
have to be? It is amazing. It is literally
Mm,
amazing the effect that it's having. And for the younger people who need this guidance, they need the guidance intellectually and spiritually. I find that they gravitate to the doctrine without having ever seen the master teacher in person. Maybe watch the class or hear a student teacher such as yourself or myself or a Samal Capre or any one of
sure.
those learned student teachers that are bringing forth this message. They're receiving it in such a way that they're coming. So it's having a good effect. It's definitely having
Absolutely. I mean, when you were just saying about having, the opportunity,
Mhm.
like myself and others, to be, in his presence and meet him, there are people who have had a profound experience
Yes,
and meeting him spiritually, or never had the opportunity to meet him physically, but yet
right,
his words, his tones, his books
right,
are so impactful that they've been walking the path, even though they have never had the opportunity to meet him. So, it's amazing how strong,
right.
that effect that he has,
Hmm.
being that being, So I just wanted to point out that, yeah, there are many people who have had a spiritual connection. Like
Exactly.
he says, he's been in most people's lives all their lives, and they don't even realize that, he was the one there,
Agreed.
saving them through different scenarios and incidents that they may have, been
Exactly.
through. Yeah.
Exactly. So, meeting him was definitely a distinct honor for myself. Going on the land, I stayed on the land. I mean, regularly, every week, sometimes 3, 4 times a week. You come up before the Z Festival and you help
Mm-hmm.
build. So there was a purpose even in that. Some people like, oh, I don't want to build. I don't want to, No, you build because when you help build something on that land, which is our land, then you take
Mm.
ownership of it. You have a
Right.
sense of I've helped make this thing come to life by the guidance of the
Absolutely.
future. So there's a certain comfort that I found in doing that.
Sorry let me just interrupt you quickly. If it
Yes,
cuts out, all we're
yes,
gonna do, I'm gonna sort whatever that technical issue is, and then we just jump back on the same link in a few minutes.
okay,
Because I want to, yeah, there are certain things I want us to touch on,
okay,
especially the effect that it has had on us since his wrongfully kidnapping and incarceration, and how that has had a major impact on us as family, tribe, and a nation. But yeah, let's keep going, and if it cuts out, give it 2 or 3 minutes, and then we jump right back on. Okay.
okay, all right, yeah. So
Mhm.
to touch on that, while we still have the airwaves, to touch on the impact, right, for people who actually physically saw the master teacher, or maybe not, may have seen a class or whatever, his absence from us has been felt. That was a void that if you didn't know how to keep that link with him, the loss was to some people insurmountable
Mm.
to the point where it has caused a divide within the nation, within the tribe, because some people were literally heartbroken, or to the point where, well, he's not around now, and then they stopped doing what they were doing when he was
Mm.
around. But you have to know you have to keep doing what you're supposed to do. Walk under the sun as if everyone is watching you, or you can be
Yeah.
seen because you are being seen, right?
At
He's
all
a next,
times.
he's a risky, and he's so Parnatharu. If you had the same allegiance or affinity to speak to Parnatharu by way of your chants, then why not conduct yourself in that same manner?
Mm.
Because you are, when you chant, you're saying it with the intentions of it being received. So the work that we do is also being seen. So we still need to be sticky, hence the word yasar or muisar. And all of us have to put forth our best effort to stay that way, because natural nature is going to push us together or force us
Right.
to gather, right? It's going to happen. So we need to stay supporting the bookstore, stay supporting, the administration, stay supporting the avenues that will keep us together, so that when we have social functions, we see everybody's personal idiosyncrasies, personal habits, so that we can learn how to get past the things that we may find different in one another and see the bigger picture, which is survival. We have to be found
Right.
worthy to survive even the sun cycle. If you're not worthy, you're going to fall away as well. So a lot of that has occurred, but the one thing or the one commonality that we should all understand in the master's absence until his return is that we have to have that sense of family.
Yes.
We have to keep that sense of family. And when we do that, we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see the way that we need to go, the way that we need to act. And it's very important that we maintain that. You know what I mean?
That's a very, very important point you made, that
Yes.
we're being watched at all times. We say the overseers, they're seeing us, and it's actually, yeah, interesting, like how people have behaved since the master
Right.
not being around, as if he's not, we're not being watched.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're right, and I think
Yeah.
family should realize that
Hmm.
with all that they have thrown at us, thrown at the master teacher,
Right.
this, having us dispersed all over the world, in their system, which
Right.
for a lot of children that never grew up in the West, that the fact that we're still together in love and unity, still holding
Right.
onto the rope, still fighting the, the legal fight and fighting to bring the master home.
Right.
That in itself is remarkable considering,
Hmm.
how they've disfranchised us in many ways, so we can't actually live our culture in the
Right.
fullest way we could on our own land and so on and so
Yes.
forth.
That's
Yeah,
very
so
important. Very important.
yeah,
So in the absence of having that land, that one central location, that's what the bookstores, the temples, the mapras, the sanctuaries, that's the purpose that they serve now, that you still have a central point wherever you may live so that you can come together, do the
right.
spiritual rituals, spiritually develop, mentally develop, have the classes, have the things for the karadu, for the children, so that they don't feel like there's nothing for them to look forward to. And us as adults, we need to keep moving as deities in flesh. The master teacher came down here to show us who we are. So you need to conduct yourself. And deities, are always making matter move,
Absolutely.
to create the universe that the younger ones will come up behind us and have something for them. So if for no other reason, we should try and do our best, not try, but we should do our best to be these good examples for the children and not have so much infighting and, disparaging marks upon one
Yeah.
another, something personal. We're supposed to be
Hmm.
in control of our emotions and not be overly,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, like you say, these distractions, especially
Hmm.
during the pandemic or
Yes.
plandemic, as many people call it with the COVID,
Yes.
it stopped people congregating and getting together. And I think there's been a mindset shift to
Hmm.
the point where people don't want to come out no more. And I think considering we're a tribal people. We're people that like to
Exactly.
come together, and they always try to
Yes.
get in between, us
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
this information out to the world. So
right.
we overcome.
That's right. They can't stop us. They cannot
Can't
stop.
stop us, can't stop pops.
Definitely, definitely not.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
So yeah, we were as we are discussing about, just the it was intentional, as you were saying, when the pandemic occurred and people got comfortable with not coming around. But that's the
Mm,
reverse of what our natural nature is. We love to congregate naturally because we're the first
mm,
people. And when we're the only ones here, we had each other and we knew
right.
that, right? So yeah, they've tried it and it has worked to some extent. But Moisar, such as yourself, such as myself, such as the feminine, who help participate and bring us together in certain ways. We just have to keep at it, right? And let
Sure.
the shook overflow and dominate the negative energies, or that some people have. And this is just my observation, hence the
Mm,
Kitar, the observatory. This is my
sure.
observation, right? That some people have cultivated during the pandemic that a higher sense of self,
Mm,
become selfish in the things that they want. But the journey
sure.
is to become selfless, to
Mm,
lose that individual sense of state of being and know that the common mentality is the strongest force in the universe. We know that because by
mm,
way of the common thought or the mental reservoir, we're able to function. We're able to get thoughts and retrieve them. So when you close yourself off from that, you're literally putting up a gate of your own design to stop you from being part of the greater plan, which is an illusion because we're all in all,
absolutely.
right? We're all in
Sure.
all. So we have to
Right.
say we have to be a part of all and not think we're apart from all. That's where we
Sure.
fall short. So during the
Right.
path of spiritual development, it is very important that we just continue to come together and enjoy each
Mm,
other's company to see the divine within each other,
tour. And
right?
yeah, some of the interesting observations
Hmm.
around that topic is that yes, if we were in our own environment, like we
Right.
were on our
Hmm.
own land,
Hmm.
because there were a lot of Nagarus that got caught up, and many people crossed over or passed away.
Yes.
And the master obviously pointed out that when the maps were being shown initially,
Hmm.
it wasn't places where we congregated the most initially, and
Right.
that the ones who got affected were people on the front line, people that were working in those systems in, like in the hospitality industry, which they call the hospitals, and,
Right.
people that were on the front line having to touch and be around those people, because as we know,
Right.
a lot of that was genetic markers targeted at specific people. But
That's,
obviously, if you
that's
were
right.
in that, environment, then you would get caught up.
Right.
And the other 2 points I want to touch on is
Hmm.
how, as it says in, when we were going through the school of religion, Islam, that, you plan a plan, and the Most High plans a plan, and who's the greatest of all planners, right?
Right.
So when we start to look at epigenetics,
Yes.
as well as mind linked, when the master put out those master secrets, it's
Hmm.
like it doesn't matter where we are, we're still mind linked,
Right.
and we're still connected by way of our DNA and our
Yep.
genetics wherever we are on the planet. So even though we weren't getting the opportunity to come together and congregate physically, we were still able to do that spiritually and utilizing these platforms, which
Right.
obviously most people started to use
Hmm.
during the during the pandemic. But
Right.
we're still connected, mind linked, and through our genetics.
Hmm. That's
Yeah,
right. I agree. I agree. So it did serve a purpose, right? So as as deities, as non-ether beings, right? We have the ability because we have all existing gases in existence, right? So as a non-ether being, we can use some of these devices, some of these platforms, which may have its roots in six ether, but we can convert it to non-ether and use it for positive, like what we're doing now, like the club,
absolutely.
like so you have the ability within yourself to say, okay, I'm going to convert this six ether into non-ether, and then like now, if I see you, we see each other, that's cool. We can see each other like this, but I'd rather
Mm,
see you in person. So even this
absolutely. Yeah.
device can be utilized to say, I miss the company of those who think
Mm,
like me, those whose minds have been sped up to the point where we're thinking on a higher frequency. And when I'm not
mm,
around those type of people, then that's when I feel the minority in a group.
mm.
I'll say alone in the crowd per se, because I can
Yeah.
speak to you on a level that I may not be able to speak to even a coworker or a person at the,
Right.
you know what I mean? There's something missing. So we have the
Yeah.
ability to fill that void. Just saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go come around. I'm going to, and when we start doing that, that becomes our first nature again, as
Yes.
opposed to the second nature that's been implanted in many of us. But we can
Mm.
overcome that. We just have to want to.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
And it's also just like them thinking that if they incarcerate the master,
Hmm.
like they looked at how other leaders in the past,
Right.
other, African American leaders or African leaders in general,
Right.
that they took away the head and thinking that the body was just gonna,
Right.
fall away.
Right.
But instead, the master was able to actually utilize that situation and
Hmm.
put out even more doctrine, more information
Exactly.
than before. And
Hmm.
we're now reaching people in the most remote places, different races all over
That's
the
right.
world.
That's
And
right.
so, like you say, yeah, we've utilized these platforms and given it that positivity in the
Exactly.
nine ether energy.
Hmm.
And yeah, people from all over the world, they're now receiving Wu-Sabat. But we
Right.
just got to get back to that physical, as you say, that interaction, because
Right.
the energy between us when we're
Exactly.
together is different to,
Right.
obviously
Right.
as we are now. Yeah,
Right. More powerful. Absolutely. It's more
yeah.
powerful. We're coming into our power, literally. But you just have to not be afraid. That's what the doctrine does. It removes fear. Right.
Mm.
Some of us are afraid to be great.
Yeah, talk on that a little bit, because this is something that I'm always going on about. I'm like,
Right.
don't
Right.
you realize like it's our time? And
Right.
why are people afraid to be
Right.
themselves and embrace
Right.
Wusabat? But yeah, talk on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, the biggest hindrance to that, again, is fear. And fear has been implanted in our psyche, in our mentality, since on a subconscious level, since our physical birth in the last, this last moon cycle, which we're out of now for what, over 2 decades. But the
Mm,
residue is still very prevalent. So when we're talking about not recognizing your greatness is because you've been told for generations that there's nothing great about you. And then one comes that says you are great. And it's hard to accept because the issue is, do I want to believe it or do I want to know it? And that's our job as the master teacher's helpers to extend that knowledge, that hand, that confirmation that we're great. And we have to keep doing that. So a lot of times, a lot of us, many of us are literally have a fear of letting go of the very thing that's hurting us. Right? Because the foundation of Wu-Sabat hasn't totally settled in our mentality. Many of us, some of us it has. That's a great thing. And those of us that it has settled in, it's our job to live the culture in an upright way so that everyone who looks upon us, they know who we are. From the attire, but more so from the energy that we exude. And again,
absolutely,
when you emit, right, you emit a certain energy that comes with time. And the word emit and time are actually the same word, TIME and EMIT. That's the the sense of duality,
the polarity.
Yes, exactly. So when we emit that energy, the person who doesn't have it or has not activated, they can feel it. So when you come in the room, your presence is so overpowering, and a lot of times it attracts people to us. But when they come to us, we have to have something to give them that's going to be uplifting for them. You know what I mean? Even if the thing I'm saying is you, it's you. It was you that was attracted to that. And they go, me, yeah, you. The you inside. To turn this inside out. And when you do that, you flip off the fear. And once the fear is gone, you will see who you truly are. And that's what the sacred orders are for. That's what these scrolls are for. Because in these scrolls is a healing doctrine. The master teacher wasn't just saying that as a word. This is a healing doctrine from the DNA level down to the spiritual level to the mental level. All aspects of the divine being must be touched by this doctrine. And when that occurs, that's when that condition of consciousness comes to the point where all you see is great. And what's not great, you'll make great because you're a deity. And that's what we need to do. We can never let go of the rope. As long as we hold on to the rope and don't separate, as we're told, right? This master teacher is a warner. He's a spiritual guide. He's a spiritual father to many, right? Not to mention the kindness that he has for others. And a lot of people may not have seen that or have felt that, but that's where we come in.
That's right. We are the rays from the sun and the center, right?
Thank you. Very well put. And as that, we must shine, right? Because we've been given that. The intellect, the light of intellect is like a candle. And when you come into a room and you now have the candle, do you put the candle on the top of the table so everybody that comes in can see? Or have we fallen back and we sit under the table with the candle so only we can see? That's selfish. Right?
That's right.
We have to gain that state of wahuness, which is oneness. I say it in a lot of classes. And like the master teacher says, why do I repeat myself? That's what some people say, oh, I read it in this book. I read it in that book. There's a reason that it's being repeated till it becomes inside of you. He's saying that until we truly understand that. Like Wu-Nuwap and Wu-Sabat it is divine at its core. But you also make it divine when you get even beyond the words. When you jump beyond the words and feel the essence of the doctrine moving through you. And once it does that, fear is gone.
And that fear goes back to the deities of these religions, right? Because you're afraid to go to hell.
Yes.
If you look at the slave kidnapping, which they call the slave trade, which wasn't a trade because you didn't get nothing for it.
Anything out of it. Exactly.
And like the epigenetics, because you may not have been directly involved in it, but like your great grandma or whatever was.
Right.
So that fear of thinking, letting go of the slave masters' religions, I'm going to go to hell, I'm going to burn forever, this deity, not realizing that you don't see the sign because it's like, why is a loving God or loving creator, Allah, going to burn you up? And that fear, like people fear fire, not realizing that fire is that Narin Samun, as we would say, or that Luciferian
Right.
fire or light that they use to blind the world. So
Right.
yes, it really, once you overcome that fear,
Right.
there's nothing that you cannot achieve, and
Exactly.
together it makes
Exactly.
it even easier. Tua.
Even easier. We become a magnified force for good, for positive energy. And when we all come together and utilize that force, now we're able to actually reverse the polarity of the planet from six ether to nine ether.
Right.
Right.
That's
So
right.
we have to have that mind.
Facts.
Yeah, we have to have that mindset. I find it funny just touching back on the deities and the punishment aspect of it, right? So first they have us with the other than chip. We're living in fear. We die, as they say. I'm going to use their word for the conversation.
Yep.
We die, as they say. And then what? We are living again, but in fear in the afterlife. So do we really die, even in religion? If that were true, right? If I were to fear being burnt for eternity, I must be conscious of it. So if I'm conscious of burning in hell, which you need oxygen for, but if I'm conscious of this burn, then what
Yeah.
doesn't that mean I don't really die? Because if I die
Yeah.
and everything goes out, how would I be conscious of this hell that you are threatening me with? You see, that's the fear
Absolutely.
we need to release ourselves from, because that's why we say with the Antwi, it's life after life, not after death. There is no death for energy.
Yeah, and now what's it putting it very,
Yeah.
Wu-Sabat, as you say, when you first met the brother propagating, and
Yes.
he was able to ask you those very simple questions quite eloquently. It's like the way Wu-Sabat opens your mind to look at things.
Right.
Like you say, how can you burn forever when you study what fire does? Like fire
Right.
consumes what is burning, right?
Right.
Because as you say, it needs oxygen and it needs material to consume to burn. So
Right.
if you're there and you're not going anywhere and you're burning, apparently, that's showing you that energy can't be destroyed, because how can you burn forever
Forever.
if fire is to consume and get rid of something? So you're
Right.
still there. So
Right.
yeah, you're right.
That's
The fear,
freedom.
it's got to be yes,
That's freedom.
yes,
High intellect is freedom from all the fears that they implanted in us so that we really couldn't live our life. We're giving our non-ether energy to six ether deities who subsist off of energy. So if we don't give it to them, guess what? They die. They become weak
absolutely,
and
yeah,
dissipate and have no effect on us. So our job is to show our family by way of example, not just talking, by way of example. I'm going to always say that. We have to be
yeah,
the best of examples because the master teacher is the best of examples for us,
absolutely,
right? Forget
absolutely,
the
yeah.
public scrutiny that those who have turned against or walked away because they fell for the sensationalism of those false charges, right? So I say to people who feel that way, and you have a right to feel the way you feel, but for anyone that will come up to me and say, "Oh, your master teacher is this, your master teacher is that," by what? Where did you come to that from? Oh, because the news said it, the media. Okay, fine. That same energy that you're giving to believe and accept that, would you take that same energy and check out the case? You can get the transcripts now. You can see where nothing that they said matched up. You can see that. How many people have even noticed the simplest thing? And I'll end with that. The simplest thing is it a coincidence that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was arrested on the exact same date, 60 years before the master teacher on May 8th? All those people who have that same energy, oh, I studied this, go study that. That's all a part of a plan when it comes to, taking down or defaming by character first, if they can't actually, physically remove them by character assassination. And they happen to do it on the same day of May 8th, 1942, May 8th, 2002. Different charges, but the date was the same.
Tour.
So things like,
We yeah,
yeah,
little things that are so obvious. I mean, like, we know we have a legal team, so we can't go
yes,
into the legal
right,
case
right,
too
right.
much, but like the simple
Mm-hmm.
common sense things, like
Yeah,
no one else had case held or court on
right,
Martin Luther King's day, right?
right,
Things like there's no videos allowed because it's a closed court, but
right,
yet there happened to be one person that has a video
right,
that is circulated on the internet, just
right,
so happens to be showing the plea, so-called plea,
Right.
And then you see glitches in the editing of the video in the background,
Obvious.
and you just see the master shaking his head, and there's no words really being said, and
Correct.
you can see he's clearly under duress. Little things like he was under surveillance for a long time. And if you're talking about something as important as children, how can you be having surveillance, right? But don't do anything about it for
Right.
years.
For
And then
years.
when it's time to go to court, you
Mhm.
then don't have any evidence of the
Right.
surveillance that you so-called had for so long.
Which is the
Then you
reason.
look at the
Right.
whole, yeah, you look at RICO, and
Right.
RICO is what? Racketeering and criminal organizations. You can't have one person only,
Who
you
stands
know.
for organization. Right.
Yeah. So it's like little things where even if
Right.
you're not really studying the case to the
Right.
detail that, we have, and looking at the
Right.
transcripts and things like that,
Right.
just common sense will let this is something of a conspiracy. And then with the actual conspirators
Right.
recanting and all of this kind of stuff, man, come on, man. Like,
Right.
you really should take the amount of time, as you say, if you're going to
Yeah.
follow the hearsay,
Right.
to then do a little bit of due diligence for yourself,
That's
and
all.
then you see,
That's
you
all.
see, you
You,
see,
you,
you
you
see it's
see.
a setup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll actually see for yourself. So again, I'm glad. I want to thank you, for providing this platform for us to, come together and chop it up, speak our doctrine, show the world that we have what for us works.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? It is
And
the world.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, that's it. It works.
Yeah,
And it's not like we're just saying it works without trying everything else. We're
exactly.
we're the most religious people. We've been in Islam, we've been in Christianity, we've been in Judaism. We
We tried it
studied
all.
what they call Egyptology. We Sumerian doctrine,
Right,
Egyptology. We did it all, and
right, right,
arrived back home in
right,
Wu-Sabat, and we're like,
right.
we're not just saying this out of ignorance. We've
No,
actually tried everything else, and we're like, it didn't work for us, so take it back.
right.
Here's
Y'all
your
can
stuff.
have that. Right. Y'all can have.
Ours works for us.
Yes.
So, this is why we say to our brothers and sisters
Hmm.
who are still caught up under
Right.
the six ether spell, look, try it and see for yourself, and
Exactly.
see if it works for you. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
it's fantastic to be able to
Hmm.
have you on a platform, and for us to be able to have a dialogue and just
Oh,
share, because yeah, like there are different people, different experiences, and once you hear more and more stories of people
right.
who have been touched by the master teacher, I
Exactly.
think people can read for themselves. They can feel the love, they can feel the energy, they
That's right.
can, there's body language, there's so much that people will know from us just speaking, that it's out of sincerity and love and care.
That's right.
And of course that love is, it can't go any better than what the master teacher has shown and shared to the world, so we just got
Exactly.
to get him home, man.
That now on that we agree 1,000%. From here to eternity and beyond, he has to come.
Absolutely, it's got to
He
come
is the
home.
guide. He's definitely the guide. Again, thank you. I appreciate that. I do have to get ready to run and prepare for
No problem, no
chant,
problem, it's been a
chant night.
pleasure.
My
Yeah,
pleasure,
we can
Zamal.
do this again. It's the first time,
Hey,
and
listen, call me
yeah,
whenever you want, Zamal. Call me whenever you
Tua.
want. Let me know we're gonna make it
Likewise.
happen,
I'm my
okay?
brother's keeper, bro.
Yes, I'm a brother's keeper. Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Wadu,
Hatat.
Washu. Yes,
Wadu wa shuk's, man.
absolutely.